Okay, hi people. Let's see if I can record this in one take and without messing with my hair that I have to mess with every time. I don't even know why. Okay, so this I know is getting really exciting and part of my story continued. Okay, this is part three of the being hypnotized by physical beauty. And now I am going to talk about in this episode the steps I did to feel more free that I didn't actually know that I was doing subconsciously. Okay, if I repeat myself a little bit, I just want to get into it, but I might repeat myself again for what I just said because I typed up some different things and I don't always follow this. So I'm going to be looking at my iPad. So to recap the last episode, I talked about what I have learned regarding self worth and how I came to know this. I explained my experience with my two beautiful acquaintance friends. One of them actually was a best friend with, I guess, to me. We don't say best friend because she was the only friend I was hanging out with from like sixth to eighth grade, I would say. Okay, so she's the one that I will talk to you more about later on. In case you wanted to know just some fun facts of what they look like, the one before, number one friend, and I want to say she was like fifth or sixth grade. I don't think we were that young. I think we were older. But she moved away. So maybe it was seventh, eighth, somewhere in there. Okay, so she was the Italian, light skin, hazel eyes, probably 5'2" or 5'3", petite, but she had some double D titties. Okay, so then the second one was dirty blonde, blue eyes, um, maybe 5'6" or 5'7", and same size kind of bra size. Okay, so just so that you can get an idea of what those two people looked like, and the basis of the first one, the Italian one, I don't think actually we had a lot in common, but we could talk easily, I guess, together. So looking back at it, later on when she moved away, we actually ended up having more interests and music and all of that sort of stuff. And the second one, I had way more in common with not only good conversation. It was always really deep. Our punk rock music, the arts, reading. We just always had, and also our fashion. Dressing outside the box. We definitely had in common our both love for The Cure, the band The Cure. So we were funny. We just used to do photo sessions and stuff when I dress up and do my makeup like the movie in The Crow. So anyway, so that's also why kind of like this story is interesting yet confusing at the same time when I talk about the punk rock mindset influence. Okay, so this episode is about what did I do? Because remember, I'm the how person. I knew these sorts of things were going on with me or didn't like them, but I didn't know how to fix them. So, this is about how I expanded through passions, hobbies, learning that there were different types of physical beauty, ethnicities, body types, and that men have different tastes. And not everybody desires the typical, like, white Anglo Saxon look. Okay, nothing wrong with that. It's just like what I thought. That's what everybody wants. So if I don't look like that, I'm not desirable. Remember, this goes back to the whole physical thing of being desired in society and things like that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the timeline. So this is really good. I like this because remember me, documentarian. Okay, so I like sharing. So this was, I think I told you, from 14 to 19. I experienced this sort of stuff. Then I moved away to Illinois and lived there from about 19, I want to say 19 to 21 or 22. Okay, so this timeline. So when I moved to Illinois, we were talking about how I grew myself. So, in the steps that I took to overcome this. Okay, so when I moved to Illinois and my mind really started becoming expanded. Remember, I was an introvert, very much an introvert, no social skills, nothing. So when I moved to Illinois, the first boyfriend there, not exposed me, uh, brought Brazilian music into my life. So that is one of the huge forms of my therapy. I had a great love for that. So eating different types of food. Okay, so I got to tell you that different types of food, different types of music. Okay. So then when I relocated to California, I was still at that point. I didn't really have anybody there to compare myself to necessarily around me of the friends there, but is still going on. Okay, so this is 21 now to 30. We're going to go. Okay, so I was still comparing myself, like I just said, to these people around me. It wasn't necessarily in the media anymore, it was just people around me. And so what I want to talk about to get to the meat of things, even though I'm not going to talk about it more later, and if you want to listen to this episode, is that at 30 is when I feel like the anger or the weight was lifted about this power I talk about, which I didn't know existed, right? But when it was gone after this, then I felt a relief. And the best way to describe it is the energy is actually gone. Like no regrets, no going back, no should I recontact this person or whatever. And this is regarding a letter, an email that I sent to the best friend when I was 30 years old. And I was telling her that I was pregnant, and like as a good thing, this is a big life event, and the email sounded very negative. And so, okay, so here we go, but I'm going to rewind. So now you know that part. Okay, that happened at 30. So we're going back to I was an introvert, right? And when I moved to California, this is way getting scattered from my notes. So I was an introvert, right, when I came out here, but when I started my business, um, as an esthetician in the salon, I saw the potential for growth. So I wanted to try to make it happen because I had heard that I could successfully build a business there. So I became more extroverted. And those are little things like I never thought I would say to like, nice to meet you, or walk up to anybody, or any of these sorts of things. So I just tried. And every day I tried and walked around the store and talked to people. So this is the part of my becoming an extrovert, which I highly recommend because being an introvert actually held me back. But I like blending the two nowadays to be able to do that. Okay, so I had a brother out here. So building my business, I did come out here with my brother. He's 8 years older than me. I haven't talked about him before, who has kind of the sociopath, antisocial behavior traits and the narcissism that I can talk about. But we were always really close, even though we didn't always live with each other. He called me all the time. And in those ways, I think he was a really good brother until later on that I had some issues. So I intended to go to beauty school out here to do hair and change to skin. Okay. So now you have that background, is that I really didn't have. I had I don't know to say difficult time meeting friends, but I met a couple of friends, but they either weren't interested in these things that I wanted to try, or they just weren't available. Okay. So we are talking about now the Brazilian music. That's the only thing I can think of right now that really, like, I don't even know how I found it, my beautiful teacher, and I didn't know anything about samba dancing. So this is a very crucial part of me talking. So I started exploring about, not exploring, but trying Samba classes. And it's actually a style you don't need a partner with. Okay. It's different than salsa. So it's kick ass. And why this is such a big deal of me learning Samba and opened my mind is, this is the part that's probably going to confuse you. You can look it up about what punk rock, the mindset and philosophies and activism. But part of that is about embracing your individualism, right? Embracing that you're different. And back then, back in the day, mohawks, colored hair, tattoos, all of that stuff was outside the box, especially in rural Pennsylvania. But now I feel like we have become a tattooed culture and all of this sort of stuff, especially in California. So all of that is not considered weird. So I have to try harder to be different. anyway in my styles, which I've just always been into fashion. Okay, so with that being said, which also has a reputation, punk rock culture, for being dirty, unshowered people, drinkers, all that sort of stuff, which is not all of us, but it has that reputation, right? There, it was known for that. Maybe, not having a job or whatever it is. I wasn't a part of that, but all of the embracing of the uniqueness, the standing up for the little man, all that sort of stuff that all is me, is that culture is very masculine. So to be girly and to learn how to dance samba and move my hips was a really big deal. Like that's embarrassing to me. Like not only I'm an introvert, but I'm also embarrassed that I have to move my hips like that. Are you serious? Um, anyway, but I think that again, I apologize if I'm a little bit repeating myself, but just with this being said right here, I want to say this is that I think because I love samba so much and the focus of me just wanting to learn how to dance like that, I saw some other chicks dancing in there and that was so beautiful. That's what pushed me. And that was part of the subconscious of the building of my inner character, right? If I'm not attractive, if I'm not pretty, well, I'm going to learn how to dance like that because that's going to make me feel better, right? That's technically what was happening. And so a little bit, yes, if I pause here, because then I know, like I already told you some of that right now that I'm going to be reading. Okay, so basically going over with the whole Samba thing is that achieving and accomplishing. So this is the part of the building character that I didn't even realize I was doing. And that whole world of Brazilian music, ethnic music, all that stuff that I love and love African jazz, all this stuff, even though I liked, so to back it up, my punk rock music, swing music, Dixieland, all those other types of music, conscious hip hop, I liked all of that. I just had not been exposed to cultural music. A little bit of my Thai music, but not the Brazilian music that is so uplifting and so just magnificent. Okay, so I was saying that I was subconsciously doing it and not realizing this. Well, it was actually building a security in myself. Okay. So, all this stuff that I was doing, I didn't know that I was doing, and it wasn't doing it on purpose. I think it was part of my survival mechanism, which is the same thing I was doing when I was a teenager, right? If I am not attractive, if I am not desired, if I feel like nobody wants me, I'm gonna have to just go inside to myself and feel better. And again, subconscious. I didn't know what I was doing, but this is what I was doing. So I love knowing that. It's like, hey, if I was gonna have to explain to somebody how you build security in self, this is how you do it. Okay. And it sounds really simple, but it's not very simple to do when all your focused is on how you look, how everybody else looks, how you don't look like that. Okay. So, okay, moving on. So we are going to speed it up now to age 30. Okay, so I talked about Samba, trying different things, doing different things, exploring social things, talking more, just all these sorts of things. Okay, so age 30. So I think I had been married like 5 or 6 years at this point, and I was still staying in contact with that friend. I still just wanted to hold on to it. I was the one who was reaching out all the time. This is my life. Usually when I try, I have always been the one maintaining. My dad was the one driving me to people's houses that moved away and all that sort of stuff to still stay friends with them. So, life lesson. So I was still keeping in touch with her, and I was writing an email to basically tell her that I was pregnant, big life event. And as a, positive thing, of course, I'm talking about it very logically like this because I planned it. Okay, I'm ready. I'm going to try this. Got pregnant the first time, if not the second time, because that's how I make shit happen. And the way I did that with no epidural, no drugs. I didn't even know that was going to happen for me. I just wanted to see what would happen. I'm not that much of a hippie in that sense. I did think about a water bath, but then having her in the water, but that just sounds like warm water and like delivering and sitting in a bath for who knows how long. That's for another story, okay? So I am regretful that I didn't get the IV because I was so dehydrated the next day. So whatever, everything in my mind that I thought my birth was going to be like having birth was nothing that I saw on TV. So originally I was fearful and everything about it. Okay. I just have to interject though, when they're holding up the full length mirror and asking, Nora, you want to see your baby? I'm all, what? I'm working hard here. By the way, it just feels like it's on fire. Okay, down there, on fire when they're coming out. Okay, so that was fairly easy, I would say labor. So I had to interject that in there. Okay, so I told her about that and I took the email while it's in written form, right? Just like a text, like, is this negative? This sounds very negative to me. She was just saying things like, welcome to the world of changing diapers and something, something, something. And so I was like, okay, whatever. And but I had to give it to somebody that I knew, one of my coworkers, to ask her, like, is this sounding negative? Is this whatever? So after that, this is where I told you, when I realized that that email or whatever it is around that, when I realized it sounded negative, I didn't feel good after I read it. Um, I remember the moment in time the energy was released, but it was almost like an I'm done. That's the feeling you get when you're done learning lessons with specific people, because I would always hold on. I was the attached person, right? So I know a lot about attaching to somebody else. And when that energy was released, there were no regrets. There's no going back. I'm not going to write her again. I'm not going to try to reach out. I think over the years, not I think, I know I looked maybe at her Facebook page one or two times, but I didn't go back and I had no feelings about it. And that's how I can tell you if it's you've learned the lesson, you're done, or you're healed. Okay. I always wondered how she had this power over me, but I couldn't, it's just like I didn't know what was going on. Okay, and that goes into talking about why I described about being hypnotized by physical beauty, because I also, when I looked in a couple of other situations, I just did so many things outside of my character. It's like, why did I do that? It's like you feel like you don't have any control. And so now, since I'm past it, I can go back and explain it to you. And it's actually funny, there's a movie. So this is the 23rd, October 23rd, 2023. I just watched a movie. I'm going to make a post on it called No Hard Feelings, about basically this, what we're talking about initially, the being hypnotized by beauty. And I have my own comments about that we won't go into. Okay, so I just talked about, okay, so after the 30, then after we had our daughter, then that became my focus. And I went on to parenting and all the things there that I was trying to figure out on my own in dealing with a child, very assertive and confident, which is exactly what I wanted. Okay, so we will say then somewhere between 30 and 35. So there were some two chicks as an adult. Remember, again, the beautiful women. I don't even know if you want to say I had crushes on them, but anyway, just thought they were beautiful, right? Okay, so these two people, I still was holding on. Okay, so I want to say, if that happened with the friend, this is somewhere why I want to bring up this issue, is that I became more conscious. It must have been closer to 35, is that I had this another acquaintance friend. Again, this is like a big test, because I did think that she is like one of the ideal Thai beauties. For those who haven't listened to me before, so my mom's Thai and all these other things, East Indian, Mongolian, Chinese mix, right? And my dad's Native American and Scottish. Okay, so, but ideally, like, there are a lot of beautiful Thai women, so I thought that she was like the one of the ideals. So I'm still comparing myself to her, but she's an acquaintance friend. Okay, so just recognizing like the person's traits that I wasn't totally in love with. And so I was questioning myself a lot, just even different things like, is she being a bitch right now? Like, is this bitch? Like, is this a narcissist? Oh, I wonder if she's a narcissist. Like, all these sorts of things. And when as a nice person, it was just a test for me. Like, I don't want to be in this. I don't want to be in this situation. I don't want to have anything to do with this right now. And maybe she's different. I don't know anything now because I feel bad for even saying that, but I'm sure I act like a bitch sometimes too. But I just try to be gentle. Like, I hope I'm not sounding like a bitch right now, but I just got to say this and be direct, which I do with one of my other good friends. So just being direct, you can sound like a bitch if you don't say it very nicely. Okay, so with that being said, okay, so that was the end of that. So that's how I knew, hey, I'm growing. I'm learning from this, that I don't care how this situation is, or how beautiful they are or whatever, and being friends or talking to them or being around them. Like, I don't want to be around that. Okay. I'm sure a lot of this, of course, comes with maturity. So, actually, this is coming to kind of the close at the end of this episode. In What I wanted to say is that, yes, this is good. Okay, so I'm still less than 30 minutes, hopefully. In the close, what I wanted to say is that all of this played a part in my confidence building and building my uniqueness, like through my interests, but it also helped in decision making. So, this is kind of, I don't know, difficult for you to see if you haven't learned it yet, because those of us in later in life, some people learn, some people don't, right? Some people grow and some people don't really, right? They just stay how they are. Um, is that building the confidence in general, overall security and self, it also helped in my decision making. So no matter what relationship that you have, platonic or romantic, you become more firm with your decisions, whether, that person's acting like a damn fool, or because you know yourself. The simple thing of, like, it took me so long to even be able to say, this is actually doing a deadlift, working out. Like, I'm not ready for that. Because I know either I don't know how to properly lift it, or breathing, or whatever I was doing, because I was getting some weird sharp pains in me, but being able to speak up. And that's where the social skills are so important. And most of my social skills I learned in self-defense. But again, I saw where not being able to speak up held me back, because I've definitely had those friendships and my relationships where I didn't know how to speak. I was fearful of speaking or whatever it is, and we would just stop talking. We just wouldn't talk anymore. And maybe had we been able to resolve conflict easier, right, we could have stayed friends, hopefully. So the decision making, depending on the situations, learning about boundaries, just being stronger in self. So me expanding my mind, like, I never knew what would happen to me. I never would have guessed. I don't know. I don't even know how to say it other than I wouldn't have even known what I was missing. So that's why I talk about my self-defense story too, is like, took me to a whole nother level. And I could see how I could apply this in everyday life, what I was learning and how that was helping me build worth. And it's, again, not everybody who learns self defense is going to feel like this. It's just that since I was the introvert, the people pleaser, the feeling guilty for saying no, the not being able to make eye contact with people in the street, all these sorts of things, after I learned all of that, I put it all together. Okay, that's why I recommend that so much. And specifically, Krav Maga puts you in drills that test your worth. You have to fight to get out alive. And there's much more than that. So it is different than other types of training, and why I recommend that, even if somebody just goes for like 3 months. Um, you will see the difference, because it just pushes you and challenges you, like I said, in different ways, multiple attackers and different things like that. Okay, lastly, I said I was going to close this. So, as I was building confidence, all these things, building my uniqueness, I overcame a lot of negative thinking about myself, and all these I came to all these different conclusions as a result of being extroverted, like why I was the way I was when I was younger, which was like feeling like I'm the third wheel and moody and all these sorts of things. Like that's how I put that all together. Next time I'm going to talk about, so this is the next last clip will be the 35 to 46. Now I was starting to become more free, or I'm sorry, started to become more free over time and more comfortable with myself and being feminine. So this is about 35. I know this is really funny. Again, remember, because I'm very masculine and very dude like, growing my hair long and actually thinking like letting myself be like feel, I guess, pretty and being like, oh, she's kind of pretty sometimes. This is all the embracing of that and allowing myself. And there's all sorts of inner stuff going on inside me too, with my mom, always saying like, why you want to look like a boy all the time, and all these sorts of things. So healing, okay, healing process. So I'm going to be talking about becoming, how I became even more free over time. And I'm sorry and sad to admit that for me, actually, I'm not sorry and sad, but I feel bad to say that it could take as long as me, which was almost to 43. So that's pretty long time to actually realize, and my inner character is more important to me, and so I can look at beautiful people and appreciate it and all their uniqueness and everything, and just know that because of my interests and working on myself and all of that, that I can feel good about myself. And I need to feel like that. Whether that's being narcissistic or not, it just helps me survive life, because I think that comparing, which a lot of us do, like, is such, I don't know to say a weight or an anchor or whatever, but it's just great to not feel like that anymore. And I don't know, I taught myself. Lots of people along the journey helped me, but I guess my intention and my subconscious ways and all the different lessons that I've learned. So I'm going to end right now. I will talk to you in the next video. Again, that is going to be from 35 to 46. I will talk about more, again, the timeline and inner character building, personal growth, and these things that I do feel are important and beneficial to us. But how would one do this in a world like this and the social media and all of this, right? How? Um, yes, aside from the things that I just told you about, it's a lot of redirecting, it's a lot of personal struggle. I think me sharing you my lifetime of rejection through it hopefully will help. And there's so many things out there in terms of building character that are fun, and it's not like you have to think like, oh, I got to do a bunch of shit, learn a bunch of shit. No, but the more shit you learn, the more that it will help build you. So I think that languages is one thing that I could have developed more, and I think is kick ass. And especially to end this, speaking to first responders, if you are listening to this, learning sign languages, learning other languages without using Google to work with the public. That is a huge benefit. And learning self defense aside from jujitsu, since a lot of them are doing jujitsu. So many things. But I'm really going to fail in my under 30 minutes thing if I keep talking. So I will see you next time, next video, and hopefully this helped you. Okay, thanks all for listening. Bye.